know, like, I always forget how it goes. I just can't help but be like, about boy.
It's actually by a DJ called Bubbles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the song is called Bidu Bada Bi.
You would know the DJ's name. That's right up your alley.
Hell yeah, brother.
All right. Welcome to the Thorn 2-pack. I am Thomas Edward Kiely, General Manager, Thorn Brewing Company. And fucking Dave. And with me, as always, my lovely assistant,
Taylor Allen, Sales Director for Thorn.
Shorts again. I'm keeping track, dude. Yeah, when you're flashing them legs.
And it's chilly out. I was surprised I actually wore shorts this morning.
Me too.
Right.
I know why. Because all those stinky farts from the beef you ate last night.
The beef was sitting in my belly like a piece of lead. It was delicious, though. I will admit that.
So I got a meeting today, like 5 o'clock, where, since so many places are closed down, we have so much space here in Barrio.
Right.
We have ostensibly 2 side lots, the whole stretch of sidewalk in front of the, and we can have people in all that space, right? So one of the guys that lives across the street, he does rental equipment, and like he throws like big production shit. And so we have a meeting to talk about. We might use some of his TVs so that like we can like have like little Padres outings out in each side yard. I just want to do that one for now, the hot mess side yard.
Yeah,
the west one. I have to do never eat shredded wheat every time I try to remember the directions.
No sense of directions.
Yeah,
I love the idea. I don't know if you saw the Beagle, Ashley and Nat.
Are they doing? Is this Friday or was it last Friday?
It was last Friday.
Ah, shit.
I know. So they ended up
doing.
They set up some easy ups.
Yeah.
And they did like a drive-in style.
Yeah.
Where like people backed their cars up and brought like foldable chairs, and everyone just kind of like chilled in the back of their cars and watched the game in the parking lot. And it looked like a ton of fun. They said it was a ton of fun. It's outside. Everyone's kind of has their own space and whatnot, but like at least you're all together, like watching the game together. And it looked like a lot of fun. So it was cute. It was really cute.
I mean, at least, and then when football gets going.
That's what I'm saying.
That'd be way cool for football.
If football gets going.
Yeah, I know. All right, R.I.P. football. Did you hear my football idea?
No, what's your football idea?
It's brilliant. Here's my idea. All right, here's how they do the season. You ready?
Ready.
So like basketball's right now is doing the bubble.
Right.
You have to go into the bubble. All right. Football will do. You can either do this with 8 or 12 games, but you do four games at a time, like in a month. So for 1 month, you get an entire division in a large, arena area where they're all playing in the same field. You'd have to have some extra fields for practice. But pretty much what you're going to do is you're just going to round robin play each other each week after each other. So there's, 8 divisions? So you have 8 locations throughout the country.
Right.
And then you're just playing all the teams in that, in your bubble. Actually, it would be 3 teams because there's 4 in a division, right?
Right.
So everyone plays 3 games. 3 games in a row.
Right.
You're in that bubble for, call it 3 weeks. Then everyone takes a 2 or 3 week break. Then you go into a separate bubble and go with a different group of teams.
Okay.
And you do this 2 or 3 times up until however much you can actually do. Everyone gets tested before they go into the bubble, and you're allowed to, instead of carrying, 54 guys, you get like 65 so that all the anyone that tests positive for COVID doesn't have to play.
Right.
And then you can still I think you can do 9 games like that. Not great, not bad.
Not bad. I mean, you think about it, the season itself already is like, can you turn my headphones up? I can't hear you.
Of course I can.
The season itself is what? 16 weeks?
It is 16. 17 because there's a bye week.
Right? So you think about it, if you do 1, 2, 3, 2 weeks off, that's 5. So it's 5, it'd be 15 weeks. That'd be a 15-week season. So, I mean, it's technically the same size. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't get as many games.
You wouldn't get as many games, but like it'd be the same duration of time. So they could start it when they would normally.
Same time and end same time. You don't get as many games. It's
something.
something.
Yeah, I agree. I like it. You adapted. I like it.
Thank you. You got it, dude. You got to pivot. Yeah. That's what we do here at Thorn Brewing.
I'm into it.
We pivot. So New Belgium was sold out a couple months ago to, was it Kiren? So Asahi, is that the parent company?
I think Kiren is the parent company.
Is it?
Yeah.
So they are now, whenever this happens, right? So say Constellation, for example, because I know more of the brands in their books. They have like Funky Buddha and had Ballast. Let's say they still do. They want, and they have all the the Mexican beer portfolio. They want to have the same distributor with all their brands in every region. That's their goal. They don't want to have to deal with a million different distributors, right? So after these deals go down, over the course of the coming months or years, they get into all these legal battles to try to consolidate their distribution warehouses. That's just like how it goes every time. And so with this one, now New Belgium is trying to consolidate all their distribution in California. Since California has more lax franchise laws, it's a little easier for them to move around, so they're targeting California early. So they're in the process of swapping out like 5 distributors, and they're going all into the Reyes houses. The Reyes has Crest in San Diego. They're the largest beer distributor in the country, and they're like the 10th largest private company in the country.
Right.
It's absurd. They own like 80% of all beer distributed in the state of California.
I think it was in the last 2 years they bought out DDI.
So
Sakani.
NorCal.
NorCal just got wiped clean by Reyes.
And I mean, they've been doing everywhere. They did some LA.
They did some in Denver. I think they did some in Denver too.
It's been massive.
Yeah.
So
they got the money.
I know, dude. So it's interesting to see where Crest is going. I mean, it just seems like they're going to have every major brand in craft,
right?
Geez, within the next year or two.
It's like
throughout the whole state.
At what point too does it become a monopoly, right? Like you're gonna have these like either really small, tiny. It's almost like the difference in gap between big beer and craft beer. Like remember, like 10, 15 years ago, it was just big beer and really, really small micro craft breweries that were just getting stepped on. At least now, it's been moved in the direction where you have these like medium sized breweries that are craft. But I feel like it's almost going backwards with distributors. Sometimes you're getting a lot more of these small, really tiny craft brewery or craft distributors. And then you're gonna have like a Reyes and Mark Stein and like these just monster.
Well, every city has the Bud guy. They have the Miller guy, right. And then by now most of them have at least one big craft option,
right? And
then you're starting to see a second, a third, a fourth craft option,
right?
And like at different sizes, right? I think there needs to be the Buddy and the Miller guy. Right. As long as there's the two of them. Because here's what happens. My concern: if one of them were to go out, right, which I don't think is really possible, they have absolutely no power. Like most every bar or restaurant has to have one or the other.
Right.
But at least if the other is an option, they don't have to completely cave to the demands of one.
Right.
So like Crest is notoriously very difficult to work with, and they make a lot of demands on you to carry their beer. Like ordering minimums are kind of high, and frequencies are low, and shit like that. So if there is no like reputable Bud guy, then all these bars have to go with Crest, and Crest is going to demand so much of their business. I think it'll create less business for us,
right?
At least in the on-premise and in the independent liquor stores. In chains, I meant well, fuck, no matter what.
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter what we do at that point. I feel that.
It'll be interesting, man.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I don't particularly care for
New Belgium
for those big. I don't. I have a lot of respect for New Belgium because they're a B Corp, certified B Corp. So to be a certified B Corp, you have to be like good for the world. It's kind of the thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You sell out, you lose my respect.
Yeah, it's true.
And I mean, I don't own a bar, but I've never heard a good thing about Crest. I've had a few friends that worked there that did not like it, and they're the competition out here.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, you think they care about us?
Hell no.
God. Oh no, hell no, man. All right.
I'm not gonna lie though, I do like it when I go on OB and Brett's one of their reps and he's like, you want some White Claw? I'm like, I love some White Claw. Like,
of course you want White Claw.
I'll take a White Claw.
Yeah, he knows you well. They're nice people that work there. It doesn't make it a good company or a 100%. Nice company, you know. So sorry for hurting your buddy's feelings. So Stone,
the juicy
distributing.
Stuff.
Yeah, this is the juicy stuff. So, what's it, like a week ago? It came out. Right. There's a little 3-barrel brewery in Kentucky called Sawstone, and they went to trademark their name, and Stone challenged it. There wasn't a whole lot of information as to what the quote-unquote challenge was.
Right.
But there was a lot of talk online about how Stone was bullying this little brewery. So, like, Greg Koch, the co-founder of Stone, responded, and he put out a letter. I think it was yesterday. And I have it up, and I kind of wanted to go through the letter and kind of see, like, where we agree or disagree. You okay with that?
Bring it on.
All right.
I skimmed through it last night too. I read the first Greg's an interesting dude, and he writes so like well, but also kind of annoying. I don't know if you've noticed that. Like he has certain things that like I'm like, oh, like he like verbiage that really well, but then there's times where I'm like, okay, bro, you're just dragging the shit on, just like scroll.
Yeah, I mean, he jerked himself off for 5,000 words. Yeah. So I mean, my ultimate take is I actually agree with their position.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the business. They have to protect their trademark, and if they weren't doing it, they wouldn't be running a professional business.
Right.
It's professional, and if what he's saying it's true, and I actually believe it, is it pretty much what they, there's like a database of people, when people send trademarks, you can get notifications, you can look them up. Their legal team probably does search this thing, and they have to send out notes to be like, hey, you're infringing on our trademark. Again, you have to do it.
Right.
Especially at that size.
Yeah.
They can afford to have the legal team, and they should be doing it. They have so much shit to protect, right? Now, when it comes to like us, we can afford a legal team to do that. If they're like, we have had conversations, but like, it's a way different game, right? So they had their just lawyers go to the trademark office and be like, hey, we're challenging this. He's saying that's all they did. So they challenged it at the trademark office. If that's true, I don't know how you can be mad at that. That's just like business 101. Like he has to do it. Now, if I am Sawstone, so actually, let me step back. That's one opinion I have. My other opinion is, I don't know Greg Koch personally. I am willing to separate Greg Koch the human with Greg Koch the personality of Stone or for Stone. And just like in wrestling, like, you have like heels and baby faces and they're not actually like, they fluff it up. That usually, like, I'm willing to bet that Greg is actually pretty similar to this person, but like he probably goes a little extra to like, create a brand.
Yeah.
I actually really admire the ballsiness and his willingness to take stances and do anything, because I think a lot of larger breweries are just so like nuded and they just refuse to take positions on anything. Right. I do admire that, except when I like read stuff from him or listen to him, I just think like there might be no human being on the planet I would less want to hang out with in my life. I just don't like him.
Yeah.
I do not like him.
You guys are total opposites. Like East Coast, rough around the edges, like, very real, and then his is just like you were saying, like fluff. San Diego, Southern California fluff.
Yeah, it just feels like I don't know. So I want to go through different like parts of the thing, and then I'll let you know like the stuff that jumped out to me. I'm curious if you care.
Okay.
So he says pretty early on, he goes, some people say that I'm an asshole. Everyone says you're an asshole. I've never heard anything other than like, man, that guy's an asshole. Because he says like, other credit me and Stone with being one of the most positive influence in the story act that is the craft beer revolution. Now, again, I don't think there is no pure good and pure bad. Everyone's a little mixture of both, right?
Right.
It's just in big situations when it really matters or when it's hard, are you good? And to me, that's what matters, right? I think they deserve a shitload of credit for craft beer in Southern California.
Yeah.
As I understand the history of craft beer in Southern California and why it's so like pervasive is because during Prohibition we were so close to Mexico, they were still brewing beer down there, so the passion for craft beer and the taste for craft beer, you could still cross the border really easy and get it. We maintained that demand, and they had a lot of imported beer there that was like, even if it was like Vienna lagers or like the darker Mexican lagers, it was still something that wasn't just Magro beer, so that they had the taste for it. And then when Karl Strauss opened up, when those guys came up in Bolt in like the late 80s and the revival happened, there were just a few really passionate people that took the torch and really like worked together and challenged each other to like make craft beer a thing.
Yeah.
And like that, and it kind of bled out. Then in I would imagine the late 90s, early 2000s, Stone started their own distribution company because one issue that was making it hard for a craft brewery to go from like a guy to be a little home brewer to actually a professional brewer was distribution, because back then there's the Bud guy and the Miller guy, and they're not taking your beer, so how do you sell your beer everywhere? So Stone, they were, from what I understand, they were actually doing something with Dogfish. They were like trading kegs back and forth, and Stone ultimately started their own distributor, and they started selling other breweries' beer around town.
Right.
I think that is one of the most important elements of the boom of the scene, because now you actually had a path to legitimacy. You had distribution and shit like that, right? So when he says, one of the most positive influences, especially in that regard. I totally agree.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
He says, when I look in the mirror, I just see a passionate beer geek that's willing to speak up from time to time and share my truth. When you do that, not everyone's going to like it. Again, that's one thing I do admire about Stone, that they have balls and they take positions on things. And, yeah, 9 times out of 10, I read anything, I hear anything out of his mouth, and I'm like, ugh, that guy's intolerable. Yeah. But at least he fucking says something, you know? And, so I do admire that. But there is a little bit of a, and if you're not getting criticism, sometimes vociferous criticism, then you're probably not doing much. There's a saying I like from like a movie or something, and like a band that I liked used it in a quote, and it was something to the effect of, "A man without enemies is a man that never took a stand for nothing." I really like that.
Yeah,
that's kind of badass,
good,
right?
Yeah.
And I agree with that. Like, if you do take a stand or you have a strong opinion, you're gonna like alienate people. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that just because you have enemies that you're standing up for the right thing all the time.
Yeah.
And there is like, sometimes he goes beyond arrogance and it's just like shitheadedness.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but he definitely he crosses that line frequently enough.
Yeah, he walks that line real close.
Yeah. And again, at least publicly. It's hard for me to say anything about him privately. Now he's talking specifically about the deal with Sawstone. So what happened was, they gave the trade, they challenged the trademark at the USPTO,
right.
And then Sawstone went out on social media. He gives a timeline where I guess there was some stuff in between. There was some conversation back and forth about Stone being like, "Hey, we're challenging this," and then Sawstone being like, "Hey, what's going on?" And then so very minor back and forth between the lawyers,
right,
about maybe like a path forward. Stone claims that they were like, "Hey, let's meet up. You come with us for a plan on what you're going to do to make it less infringy, and then we'll like sign off on it." And then they never sent it to them. That's Stone's claim, right?
Yeah.
I'll just accept that as truth, because for my opinion, it doesn't necessarily matter. Sawstone, he's saying, so Sawstone took their case to social media, which I'm not a lawyer, but I listen to, we have Candace is our lawyer, right? Candace Moon. When I'm in a tricky legal situation, I just go to Candace and be like, "Yo, what should I do?"
Yeah.
And one thing, I've had similar like kind of conversations with Candace, and I've been to like classes at CCBA events. One thing that I would definitely not recommend, based on what I know, is to make a public cry about it, because now what you're telling, like, now you're on the radar.
Yeah.
So it's like Stone now has to defend their trademark even more strongly than they did before, because now it's out in the public.
Yeah, 100%. If you could have just shut your damn mouth and just figured it out.
Yeah. He says, when someone attempts to register a name trademark related to beer that we believe is confusingly similar to ours, we regularly file an objection to that registration with the USPTO. Again, I totally believe it. I think they have a team of lawyers that's ready, and they go at it. I don't think that's a lie. I don't think they were just like picking on this little brewery out there.
Yeah.
To an extent. He said, a tiny... it's not unheard of for us to have beer together and develop friendships. He's talking about people they disagree with. A tiny slice, however, decided they instead want to try and cry foul. Where he's starting to lose me is that he suggests that it's like there's a lot of conversation about like the Stone legal team versus the Sawstone legal team. I have a sneaking suspicion a 3-barrel brewery in Kentucky doesn't have a sophisticated legal team.
Yeah.
It's the, hey man, can you just like create an email and put Esquire on your tag, so it looks like you're a lawyer. Like, it is like that base level, and I think this is where he maybe gets a little out of touch. He's like talking as if it's like them and it's Stone in Sierra Nevada, and like that they've gone through the ringer and they know how to figure it out. Like, this is a little 3-barrel brewery in Kentucky that's like, what the fuck? What did we do? Why are we getting this shit? And it's like, no, fuck you guys. Why are you bullying us?
Yeah,
I think they have every reason to feel that way.
Yeah,
whether or not the right move is to go on social media and complain about it is another thing. Right. I think they have every right to feel like, what the fuck, guys?
Yeah.
Let's tiny little thing out there. To Stone's credit, one thing Greg says, the Stone Brewing Company, Sawstone Brewing Company, the last 14 of their 17 letters identically match our name. It's a good point.
It is a good point.
That's a tough one.
Yep.
So especially now, if you're the lawyer combing through the USPTO list, you totally send this letter.
Yeah.
A no-brainer,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
I'm curious if the two of them were actually to talk, and Sawstone did something or responded with a plan, which I'm assuming they didn't based on this, I could be wrong, then I would be like, come on, Stone.
Right.
But if they didn't even like offer some sort of concession where Stone can check a box so that if there's ever a future issue, like, I don't know, they're suing Molson Coors, they can show that, no, they've actually been, doing this regularly, and it's just part of the nature of the business.
Yeah.
Based on all this, we were surprised that local pioneers attempted to register Sawstone Brewing with the USPTO. Maybe local pioneers hadn't heard of us. He was saying just before that, like, we've been around for over 20 years, like, Stones are registered. But when you like, every word is taken there isn't a word, like a mainstream word that you can use.
Right.
Everyone there's a Thorn that THORNE, don't even know what they do, but they sponsor UFC fights.
Yeah.
And it's like, if like there's Thornbridge in was it the cider company?
Yeah,
I think they're in Europe. Like, how many words aren't taken to some extent? Right. So now, is Sawstone too close? There was an adorable response to this letter from the former mayor of the town with Sawstone.
I read that.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Such a adorable.
It was such a good response.
Southern gentleman.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. Why don't we figure this all out over beer?
Yeah. We'll crack a beer.
Cold beer on Friday night. I hope he said it, like, typed it like that.
It's just right in his head like that.
But again, like, when they say, like, I was surprised that they registered Sawstone, obviously they're going to register the name.
Yeah.
And obviously it's not an overly sophisticated, or most likely not an overly sophisticated attempt to undermine Stone, or like, it's not like they got Johnny Cochran on the payroll.
Right.
Like, it's just like your basic level lawyer stuff.
Right. And it's one of those things where, like, I mean, I don't know whose side or whose responsibility this would fall on, but I'm sure if one of them flew out to the others and was like, yo, what's the deal here? Like, can we figure this out? Like, just really easy.
Probably could have done over a phone call. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think they both. It was handled poorly on both sides in that aspect. Like, the lawyers or whoever's responsible at Stone should have just at least reached out and made that attempt. But then these guys should have at least called them and be like, hey, like, we fucked up. What do we need to do here?
According to Greg's timeline, unless
disconnected over here. Oh, there you go. We're back.
We back. So on May 22nd, local pioneers said that they were putting together a settlement to send it over. June 18th, they hadn't done it. July 8th, they hadn't done it. So then Stone had to reach back out.
Right.
And then it was either on July 17th or the 20th is when, like, shit really started to go down. That's when Sawstone really started to take to social media and, like, start to be more vocal about the issue. Again, it's hard to. It doesn't seem like anything. It doesn't seem like Stone did anything wrong to this point.
Right.
It's hard for me to challenge. I totally get Sawstone's perspective and opinion. If they really just wanted to fix the problem, then I don't know. They should have at least submitted a plan, right?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming they didn't.
Like, they could have just submitted a plan, gave him a phone call, and talked it over and hashed it out.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like that.
They could have called while having a cold beer on a Friday night.
You belong in Kentucky.
All right. So then Greg says, so as you can see, Sawstone told us they would be making a proposal to work this out. Then weeks, a month, then more passed and nothing. And if that's true, I don't know what else you want Stone to do. Then, bam, out of the clear blue, we became the subject of a vicious online harassment and smear campaign. Nobody is quicker to be the victim or the martyr than Greg Koch at Stone.
Yeah.
He always finds an angle, with the Keystone thing.
With the Berlin thing.
With this, it's always like, woe is me, the world is against us. It's actually what the Patriots are really good at.
Yeah.
Is they try to find a way to, like, motivate themselves by saying it. So I admire it as a thing, but, like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like, you're not the victim here.
Yeah.
It's just like some little brewery whining. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But whatever. And then he goes, it's okay, I can take it. He's talking about the bullying. But far more disturbing and reprehensible has been the phone and online attacks against some of our individual team members who have had nothing to do with this. Well, if I know from all my friends that used to work at Stone, one thing they say about Greg Koch is how much it just felt like they loved him. Never heard anyone say that. Yeah. Not once.
Oh, man.
He says, talk about bullying. Get out of here.
Yeah, he's getting beat up over here, right?
I know.
Yeah, get out of here.
So, then he says they never actually sent a cease and desist. They did end up sending one because they were, like, defaming that character or whatever. But, again, A cease and desist letter, as I now understand it, or I've used it or seen it in our industry, doesn't really mean anything. To me, it's the same thing as if they just challenged it with the trademark organization. It's just like, it's checking the box. It's what you got to do.
Yeah. So that when you go and actually do have to push it and take it to legal. I tried.
Yeah.
Right.
And he says, in all of our years, we've never seen anything like this. You haven't? I see it all the time. Like, someone tried to defend the trademark, and the other person's like, hey, I thought we were in craft beer. I thought we were all in this together.
Right.
And it's because they don't know. Because when you're smaller, you don't know. 'Cause that's not a part of your thing. You're just making beer and selling out of your tasting room. Like, you're not thinking about the, fifth largest brewery in the country 2,000 miles away, caring that you're meaningless in the grand scheme of what they're doing. So it's obviously not on your radar. So, but then he says, Greg's like, we pride ourselves on being craft beer diplomats. We distribute nearly 50 incredible breweries and brands. Some would say competitors. We say compatriots. And SoCal alone, for Pete's sake. Compatriots? You think he calls them compatriots? From what I hear, it sounds like in the distribution meetings, it's not the compatriots. It's the people trying to steal your time away from Stone Brewing.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah.
But again, the Stone distribution in general deserves a shitload of credit.
Yeah.
I don't think that there is this scene without them. So I actually think in the start, he's right. And that is diplomatic. That is growing. That is one of the most important things that's happened to us. I just don't really think. Not only do I not think it, but
you know it.
Well, so one of the guys on our board, one of our investors, had property up in NorCal, Stone, that he sold to Stone, and then apparently it was like Greg mentioned at some point later that they took on Stone Distributing took on Thorn as like a charity case because of their relationship up there.
You're so charitable.
It's so charitable.
So charitable.
Fucking sold 90,000 cases last year.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Oh, man.
But again, and it's tough because then you got to separate like the rep level, like the distribution reps, like Joel, Laz, and Andy.
Yeah.
Like they sell so much Thorn. Like they're, I'm sure, very happy that they're in the book because they make a ton of money off selling our beer, right? And even like, I don't know if I'm like Anthony, the new Stone boss, who's awesome. I absolutely love him. I think they genuinely appreciate, because we sell a lot of beer in San Diego, and they appreciate it. I don't think Stone gives a shit. I don't think the bosses at Stone give a shit. Yeah. I think they care about Stone Brewing, and that's it.
Yeah.
And Stone Distributing does not really separate itself from Stone Brewing. I wish it would. I actually think they sell a lot more beer as a distributor.
Right.
But also, like, how the fuck do I know? I'm not in any of the meetings.
Yeah.
I'm speaking on behalf of the very supplier that I'm saying could sell more beer. So obviously, I say that. Yeah. Every supplier hates their distributor. Every distributor hates their suppliers.
100%.
And not hates, but like, you're resentful, you know?
Yeah.
They're always holding you. The other one's always holding you back, or they're unreasonable with their demands and shit like that. It's fair.
Oh, you go to battle every time you go to those meetings.
Totally.
It's like, what am I willing to sacrifice to get out of this?
I remember when I was working for the distributor, you'd hear a brewery come in and they'd be like, how come not this and that? It's like, God, you are so out of touch. Yeah. And then now I'm in on the supplier side, and I'm like, man, you guys just aren't doing enough.
Gotta step up your fucking game here. Come on.
It's all about me, you know. It's all about you. Like when you have your own perspective.
You gotta be a little selfish.
Yeah. He says our 24-year history, Stones, contains a well-documented friendly ethos in the world of craft brewing, environmentalism, social causes, and community involvement. They actually do a lot.
Yeah, I'll give them credit on that.
They, I'm pretty sure all their restaurants are like farm to table. They did come out with that guild beer recently to raise money for the guild. You do get a little bit of a marketing bump when you do things like that, so it's not like completely lost, but we've done enough of those like charity beers. They actually end up being like a ton of work. Yeah. And you don't get anything out of them, like it's financially. But that makes it hard, especially like when you're trying to make money and like keep the business going, and times are tough with COVID, and so for them to like pivot and do stuff like that. So they deserve some credit.
I agree with that.
And then he says it makes no sense whatsoever for us to go after some random small 3-barrel brewery in Eastern Kentucky now, does it? He's right to an extent.
Right.
Again, he has to because of the USPTO stuff, which is what he's saying. Mm. Totally agree. I think that there is a little bit of, because of their lawsuit with Molson Coors, he does feel like they feel like it's actually even more important than before they have to do it.
Yeah, you and I discussed this last week,
Yeah.
and I agree with that. I think that they got to stand their ground, right? And they got to show that they're not going to back down, whether it's a small brewery, a big brewery, anything like that, right?
But again, if the only reason that if they're giving shit to the Three Barrel Brewery just so that they can sue Molson Coors, I can see the argument of being like, so you're just gonna fuck with small breweries just so that you can like try to sue a large brewery? Like that sucks. That with all these guys have to be collateral damage.
That's what you're saying. Sacrifice.
I get it. And also, if you, I don't know, like I've seen those Keystone cans. I mean, I get what Stone's thing is. But I don't know of anyone that's ever confused a Keystone for a
fuck
Stone
no. There's no way, dude.
Yeah.
I would see those cans and be like, "This is clearly a Keystone," or I don't know. I thought that was. When I saw the video, I thought it was a reach. I was like, "Ooh, they're reaching."
See,
on this one.
I did too. But back to the defend the trademark thing, I get it because I mean it's. You can see why. I think it totally. Yeah. I see way more in that than I do in the Sawstone thing.
Yeah.
I think it's so. I actually don't have a problem with them doing the Keystone thing. It just it would stink if these little breweries are collateral damage.
I agree with
that's
that.
my thing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He said something. Local pioneers could have done a name availability search back a year ago and maybe a couple $100, if that. But they put their choose a name cart before their take a moment and look it up first horse. I love that line. You'll put the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
I loved that line. I thought it was hilarious. But again, every word is taken. So, like, what is the word they could have used? And according to the mayor, Sawstone is like, it's a nod, and local pioneer, it's a nod to the region.
Right.
So, I get it.
You were saying what? It's like a quarry? Like, they got a lot of quarries there, and it was like, right? Wasn't it something like that?
Yeah, it's like a mining town or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, right?
And then he brings up that I guess this other brewery's doing a GoFundMe and they've raised $13,000. And Greg's like, they raised $13,000 off this GoFundMe, and you have a right to spend the money however you want, but allow me to politely suggest that you consider asking them exactly what they intend to do with your cash. It's a good question.
Yeah, it's a really
good
question.
$13,000 going to mount you a legal defense against one of the 5 largest independent breweries in the country? Probably third.
Yeah.
Probably not much.
Not much.
I mean, if it makes you feel good to donate to the cause.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Or if they put the $13,000 into change the name.
I was just about to say a rebrand.
Yeah. Or a flight out to Escondido.
Yeah.
Because now I think it would actually, if I'm Stone, I'm like, man, I hope these guys now coming to me with a plan that I can accept that allow me to protect my trademark, but then also show that, like, I'm not looking to fuck with guys. We have to do this shit.
I'm going to work with them. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I think they would do that.
Even
after all this,
100%.
I don't think Stone gets off on fucking with these breweries.
No,
I think they're doing it because they have to.
Yeah, I mean, let's get serious. As much shit that Stone says, or drama they try to bring up, like, in reality, they're just another local craft brewery that I think just wants to help out and give back when they can. And like you said, if it's like they always put themselves first, but I mean, if they can put another brewery second, they would, right? So it's like,
yeah, I think as long as they're winning.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. As long as they're winning, they'll help out any like local craft brewery, right? Or independent craft brewery. Mm-hmm. So I was like, as long as they come out on top, I think they'd be cool and settle.
Yeah, and then it's like, all right, how is it fair to judge Stone? Is it fair to judge them against a small or medium-sized craft brewery, or is it fair to judge them against another multi-million-dollar company?
Right.
I mean, there's definitely people in that organization that don't give a shit about craft beer, and I just think I don't know how you could be a company of that size and not have a few people that like, I don't have a beer background. I'm just a lawyer that can help you,
Yeah.
So they probably have plenty of those guys on staff. And again, I've been annoyed by stuff Stone has done, and I've seen other things. I get why people are. I think if you were to take in everything that Stone has contributed and everything that they've detracted and how they operate and all that, I think their positive contributions significantly outweigh the negative ones.
I agree.
And most of the negative ones are just like, again, it's kind of annoyance. Like, I loved rooting for Hulk Hogan when he was, the Hulkster, Hulkamania.
Yeah.
And I loved hating him when he was black and white NWO Hulk Hogan in WCW.
Yeah.
I enjoyed not liking him. I find with Greg Koch, I like not liking him.
Yeah.
Like, it's a fun kind of dislike. It's like, you're such a, narcissistic, like, dick stroker.
Oh, yeah.
Like, pat yourself on the back. But, like, I kind of like that he does it. I mean, I find it entertaining.
I agree with that. You love to hate people sometimes, right?
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? And
yeah, it's an enjoyable hate for
and
me.
it's not like he's a bad person. He just has douchey moments. But I mean, like, yeah, I agree.
And he's apparently friends with like the worst guy in Metallica. Nobody likes Lars. It's like everyone's least favorite Metallica. It just when I saw that I saw a picture of them hanging out. I'm like, it so makes sense.
Yeah,
he's hanging out with him.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's funny.
All right, bro.
Good stuff.
I hope you have a blessed day.
You as well. Outro music. Cue.
R.I.P. Bang Bang.
R.I.P. Bang Bang. It's so sad.